first really with this is look at the divisions of philosophy. So there's really 4 main areas of philosophy. Sometimes some people say that there's a 5th one, which is aesthetics, which is kind of like questions of beauty. I'm not going to worry about that so much because oftentimes aesthetics can fit into the other areas. So the 4 different divisions are metaphysics, epistemology, logic, and ethics. So you might hear me say something like a metaphysical question or an epistemic question or a epistemological question. I think we all know the word logical and ethical. Those aren't going to be too tough. What are the ones that we're going to be studying here? Ethics and what?
All?
Not really all of them. No. We're going to be looking at logic and ethics. And the reason is I think it's really important to have some background in logic, even if it's just really basic, in order to be able to go through the ethical dilemmas in a way that's really going to give us something that's worth working on. Some meat that's worth chewing, you might say. Otherwise, it's just going to be like a protein shake and go down quick and come out like air. I don't know if you guys got that joke. Yeah. I have a friend who used to he was a cyclist and he rode all the way across the country to raise money for the school that we were starting in Burundi. And he would just have protein shakes all the time, and all the guys that rode behind him said that he produced a lot of tailwinds. So yeah, we're going to be looking at logic and ethics, but I just want to give you some very basic understanding of metaphysics and epistemology. So these might come up at times in our conversations. In fact, it's kind of inevitable that these types of questions or the inquiry into these areas, it will happen, but we're not going to focus on it. So metaphysics is the study of first or basic principles, and really, what is the ultimate reality is kind of what this gets into. So that includes concepts of basic science and human life. Has anyone ever read or discussed metaphysics with anyone? Yeah? What kind of conversations did you have? Okay, absolutely. Religious conversation, especially when it gets deep. Not just this is what the Bible says, or this is what the Quran says, or this is what the Bhagavad Gita says, which I know that's not actually a straight up religious tone. But, yeah, well see, in anatomy, we might be looking at things that are a little bit more epistemological. But that's also really science. And there is a lot of crossover between philosophy and science. But a lot of those other things that you're saying is a big part of metaphysics. It's something called ontology. And that's looking at, in a sense, the human condition. What is being? What is becoming? Is there a difference? What do you guys think? Is there a difference in being and becoming? What is that difference? Okay, change, time. What we are now is different from what we're going to be. Right? So is it acceptable to only be being?
Ignorance is bliss.
If ignorance is bliss, then it would be very acceptable, right? Is becoming better than being?
If what you become is a more enlightened version of what you are.
Is it possible to only be being, given that we exist in what would be recognized as time? If time exists, can we be static?
No.
I'm not trying to tell you the answer to this necessarily, because I can argue the other side as well.
No, because to be alive, we have to grow. So
To be alive, we have to grow.
That's the definition of life.
I don't know, I've seen, like, my grandma's probably shrunk an inch in the last 5 years.
She's still consuming and growing.
She is still consuming, her nose is still growing, her ears are still growing, her hair is still growing.
Some parts of her are.
That's right. These are kind of the interesting questions that you get into with metaphysics, and there's a lot of them. So there's another aspect, cosmology. What's the origin of the universe? How did the universe start? Anyone have an answer for me? You're like, I'm not saying anything now. No, really, I mean, what does science say is the origin of the universe?
Big Bang Theory.
Okay, what does religion say is the origin of the universe? Okay, it's really hard to talk about God without getting philosophical, without being metaphysical. That's a really easy one to kind of remember when it comes to metaphysics. But let's think about the Big Bang, right? So science says the Big Bang is what started the universe. What happened before that?
30 something that blew up.
Can we know?
No.
Are you sure? What about when we die? Can you prove that we won't know after we die? Okay, again, philosophical question. One of the really interesting things is a lot of people have claimed that the Big Bang occurred because after matter expanded to such a great amount that there was no more expansion possible, and then it collapsed back upon itself. And when it did that, and all the matter in the universe reached that one point, that it re-exploded. Kind of like breathing, if you think about it. And if that's the case, maybe the universe didn't have a beginning. Okay? Yeah. These are philosophical concepts. So the origin to evolution's fate of the universe. Both of these can or cannot involve God. Okay? That's not mutually exclusive in any way. You can get arguments on all of these metaphysical things from every side. Okay? Any questions about that? So here's just some basic metaphysical questions. Does God exist? What am I? How did life begin? What are emotions? Is there an enduring self? What is time? Often it's the things that we question about ourselves, our being, our becoming, our existence. Okay, things that have to do with maybe a greater power are often put into this too. It's kind of the dynamic relationship between the self and the rest of the universe. Does that make sense? Because I mean, I could probably ask you guys what are emotions, and out of 50 people in the room, I'd probably get at least 20 different types of answers. If I had you all write down for me a couple of sentences on what you thought emotions were, even more so if I asked you to write 2 pages on it and get very detailed. It's really hard to get one answer about what emotions are, right? So what are we? That's a really good question, right? What am I? Anyone ever heard of René Descartes? No, René Descartes said something that a lot of you have probably heard before. I think, therefore I am. Anyone heard that? Yeah.
It's on Facebook once.
It's on Facebook once. All right. You know, interestingly, when people say that they're quoting Descartes and it's I think, therefore I am, they're actually incorrect. He didn't say I think, therefore I am. He said I doubt, therefore I am. He said the mere fact that I can even doubt my own existence, the fact that I can conceive of some way where I don't really exist means I must. To be able to have that question going through me means I must exist. For me to doubt myself or anything entails existence. But he also says the only thing that we can prove that exists is ourselves. I can't prove that Caitlin exists. What if I'm just in a dream world right now and I'm not really awake? And you aren't real? Can I prove that you are? Does touching you even prove that you exist? Think about physics. What is this table? Mostly. Atoms. Okay, what are atoms, mostly? Okay, we got the nucleus, it's protons and neutrons. What else do we have? But there's electrons that go around the nucleus, right? So what is an atom mostly? Empty space.
Air.
In a physics mindset, we should be able to put our fist right through this because it's mostly empty space, and so is my hand. But for some reason, that's not the way it happens. So Can I prove that a table even exists 100%? I don't know. Let's move on, because now what we're starting to get into is the next area, which is epistemology.